Mr. Mahendra, here in Davos, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a bold target. He said that India can grow or can be an economy, a $5 trillion economy by 2025. What do you make of that projection?
So let's do a little math.
10% growth every year.
First of all, I don't know whether he used the words nominal or real GDP growth. So, if you really take a thumb rule that a lot of economies use, I think to double growth in 7 years, right now from being 2.3 trillion economy to 4.6 at least, it's quite doable. That's a 12% nominal growth rate. And if you look at where we are with 5% inflation, it's about, you're talking about a reasonable growth rate that we can achieve. And look, China's done it. For a developed country, of course, it would take 30 years, double the economy size. But I think we can do it. And, Sunita, I've always said that one of the things we've been poor in India, apart from income, is in aspirations. So I cheer on anyone who raises the bar and who makes stretch goals.
It can be done, but if the stars are aligned. We saw demonetization take place. We saw Prime Minister Modi implement GST. Those came at the cost of growth. What does he need to do right to get to 10%?
Well, you said the stars are aligned. That's interesting. Are you expecting astrology to play a role in this growth rate of his? I know he's a spiritual man, but I don't think he's relying on astrology. You have to look at the things he did as perhaps laying the ground for dramatic growth. This is his view, and to be honest, it's a view that's widely shared. A lot of people snipe at the fact that it slowed down the economy, but how about that old adage of taking one step back for two steps forward, or for even a leap forward? What he realized was that to get the resources we need for reform and for high growth, you need more people paying taxes. You need more people coming into the tax net. A miserable fraction of people pay income tax, and even a lot of commerce escapes the tax net. So what he was doing was, number one, with demonetization, more than some technical exercise, he was signaling we need a clean way of life. We need to move you people into the organized economy. Pay your taxes and we'll grow. And the second one, even the goods and services tax, in fact, brings a large number of small businesses into the tax net. And India's economy is enormous when you count the unorganized sector. So if they can tap into those resources, you will get the money required to invest for the kind of growth you're talking about.
You run a $19 billion conglomerate. You're pretty much diversified. You're a good voice to assess whether he has managed to make it easier for businesses. And also, what do you make of his Make in India initiative?
Interestingly, the World Bank put me on their advisory board for the Ease of Doing Business report. And the year they put me on, India dropped a couple in the ranking. So I was wondering whether I was a Jonah of some kind. Happily, we moved up, as you know, moved up fairly smartly. Look, having been on the council for that report, the report is not overly comprehensive because it focuses on a couple of metro cities. So if it really wants to represent the ease of doing business everywhere, you need to start measuring more cities in that survey, and they're going to do that. But having said that, on the ground they are tracking. There is a mechanism in the government to track each of the indices that go into that report. So they're very serious about this. But we can always do more. And to my mind, and when the Prime Minister was here and he had a dinner with the CEOs the first night, that was the only appeal I made. I said, look, please redouble your efforts on that. You've done a great job. Because if you untie our hands, then you're really going to see the energy and the entrepreneurial spirit of India take off. And that's what we really need. You want 10% growth, you've got to get private investment back. If you want private investment back, untie our hands, which means make it easy to do business.
Budget day, 1st of February. What do you hope to see?
This is, I have been very strict in India. I don't go on to budget shows or give my ratings or expectations.
But it has.
But let me put it this way: I do not foresee a very populist budget this time.
Not even ahead of the elections in 2019?
Well, it depends. I was going to say, it depends on what you call populist. if you're going to do something that improves the terms of trade for farmers, and you know that's still more than 65% of the population of India lives in rural areas. So if you're going to improve the terms of trade for farmers by what you do, in other words, raising minimum support prices for agriculture, providing funds for irrigation, providing relief in the credit cycle for farmers, that's not populist. Yes, it does get votes, but you know what? It's going to revive rural demand. And I can tell you on the ground that some of the things they've done to provide more credit and better relief for farmers, we are the largest tractor manufacturer in the world. Our sales are very robust. So clearly, that's having an effect. And then when you get a pull of demand from rural areas, from 65% of the population, you take India up. So I wouldn't call it populist. I think they're going to be smart and they will take moves, they will make moves to revive consumption. They will make moves to revive demand amongst the poor people in India. And that can only help. It's not populist. It's also good for the economy.
I want to talk about your business because you made headlines by expanding in the US. What are the plans in Detroit? What are your targets? What do you hope to do?
Okay, some of that I may have to kill you after telling you. But no, I won't tell you the targets. But, you know, we opened the factory. I was there for the launch. But we are going to be selling an off-road utility vehicle. It's interesting. People say, what is that micro niche thing? You know, Polaris and all these ATVs, as they call them. That market has grown to be 400,000 a year in the US. It's for farmers. It's got commercial users with a little pickup platform attached to these devices. People use it for recreation, for hunting. So what we're going to give them is a device that has metal bodies, not just plastic, that is durable, that municipalities can use as well. So we're going to raise the bar. We're going to change the rules of the game in the off-road utility business. And we're probably going to start very soon, in the next couple of months, selling the vehicle. But I won't tell you our targets or price lines or anything, because that's a little bit of competitive information.
But you also renewed your partnership with Ford. What's that about and why?
You know, it would be a little inaccurate to say renewed our partnership, because if you go back to our partnership, it was a full-fledged joint venture which they entered India through Mahindra Ford. So it's not as if we've announced any joint venture. What we've announced is working together. There's a recognition that there's an enormous amount of unpredictability in the world of mobility today. And, you know, two heads are better than one. And we think that given our chemistry, which is historic, and we've always had an amicable relationship, let's attack some of the problems that people are facing today in this changing world to do with shared mobility, to do with electric mobility. I even mentioned to them that, look, you know, autonomous driving, India might be one of the dark horses in providing the technology for that at very low cost. Our own company, Tech Mahindra, is ahead of the game in providing companies with autonomous driving technology. So it's a new partnership. It's not renewing the old one. It's a new partnership.
Mr. Mahindra, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.